We're constantly online, but how the internet actually works, it can feel like a total magic show. Well, today we're going to peek behind the curtain and see the one simple trick that makes it all possible. No, really. Have you ever stopped to think about it? That one simple click unleashes this incredible chain reaction that flashes across the globe in less time than it takes to blink. So, what is actually happening in those milliseconds? I promise you, by the end of this, you'll see the web's fundamental blueprint. And we're going to get there using a really simple metaphor that just makes perfect sense. Ordering a meal at a restaurant. So first, let's just take a second to appreciate this whole system. It's this constant, invisible flow of information that connects billions of us. But how does all that information actually get from point A to point B? Think about it. You can request a video from a server halfway around the world and it just appears almost instantly. That journey isn't random at all. It follows a very specific set of rules. So let's break them down. Okay, let's dive into this. To really get how the internet works, we first need to meet the three main players in our restaurant story. First up, we have the customer, and that's you, sitting at your computer, ready to order. You know exactly what you want, a specific search result, a news article, or, maybe just a video of a cat playing the piano. Next, you've got the waiter. Now, the waiter doesn't cook the food, but they are absolutely crucial. They're the messenger. They take your specific order, run it back to the kitchen, and later bring the finished dish right back to your table. And finally, of course, there's the kitchen. This is the powerhouse of the whole operation. It's where the chefs take your order, gather all the right ingredients, and cook up your dish exactly the way you asked for it. And here is where it all clicks together. This whole scene maps perfectly to the internet. The customer, that's the client, in other words, your web browser. The waiter, that's the server, a powerful computer receiving your request. And the kitchen is the database, where all the website's ingredients are stored. This relationship is called the client-server model, and trust me, it's the foundation of pretty much everything you do online. All right, so now that we know who the players are, let's follow a single order on its journey, from your table to the kitchen and all the way back again. Every single time you click a link, this four-step dance happens. First, your browser sends a request. Second, that request has to find the right kitchen, using something called a DNS lookup. Third, the server processes your request, getting all the data together. And finally, it sends everything back to you as a response. This is a fantastic question, right? In a huge city full of restaurants, how does your waiter know exactly which kitchen to go to? I mean, sure, you told them the name of the restaurant, but they need a physical address. And that's where the domain name system, or DNS, comes in. Think of it as the internet's giant public address book. When you type a name like www.example.com, the DNS looks it up and translates it into a numerical IP address that computers use to find each other. Without DNS, we'd all have to remember long strings of numbers for every single website we visit. Imagine that. So once the server gets the request, the process is exactly what you'd expect. As one developer put it, it is eerily similar to a chef receiving your order, making it, and giving it back to the waiter. The server grabs the data it needs from the database, packages it all up, and then hands it back to your browser to be displayed on your screen. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Not all the cooking happens back in the kitchen. Some of it actually happens right there at your table, after the food is delivered. This is the huge difference between what we call client-side and server-side processing. So, server-side processing is everything that happens in the kitchen, things like searching the database or checking your login and password. But client-side processing, that happens at your table, right inside your browser, on your own computer. Okay, so here's the key takeaway. Any task that needs the main database, like submitting a form or logging in, that has to happen on the server, back in the kitchen. But tasks that just affect what you see, like cool animations or simple games, those can happen right in your browser. And that is way faster because it doesn't require another trip to the kitchen. It's kind of like the chef cooking the meal versus you just adding a little salt at the table. So why? Why is this client-server model the recipe that powers almost everything we do online? Well, it turns out this simple structure is just incredibly powerful and really, really efficient. Yeah, this model has some massive advantages. First, it's centralized. All the important data lives in one main kitchen, which makes it so much easier to manage and, importantly, keep secure. This structure also makes it incredibly scalable. But what happens when things get really, really busy? What if our restaurant suddenly has to handle 1 million orders every single second? Does the whole system just fall apart?
And this is where the genius of the model really shines. To handle more traffic, you don't need to build a single impossibly huge kitchen. Nope, you just hire more waiters. Or in this case, you add more servers to share the load. This simple idea is how the biggest websites on Earth handle millions of users all at once.
When you understand this model, you're not just looking at a website anymore. You're actually seeing the fundamental blueprint of the entire digital world. Ultimately, this entire sprawling system, from the smallest blog to the biggest social network, it all boils down to a simple conversation. A client asks for something, and a server provides it. That's it. It's this elegant design that has allowed the internet to grow into the essential tool it is today. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you can see the simple, repeatable pattern underneath it all, does the internet feel bigger and more complex? Or has it suddenly become a little bit smaller and a lot more understandable?